Welcome everyone. My name is Julie Eshleman and I'm a researcher at Georgia Tech. Today we're going to look closely at the potential risks and harms of artificial intelligence-powered assistive technology, or AIAT. This is the second video in the series synthesizing findings from an exploratory scoping review of 17 papers on artificial intelligence and assistive technology. While AI has incredible potential to empower people with disabilities, it introduces some severe vulnerabilities as well. Based on the scoping review data, I have mapped out 6 primary areas of risk, and I'm showing a graphic that lists those categories vertically with the most commonly discussed risk in the literature at the top and the least discussed risk at the bottom, and I'm going to cover each one of these in detail in the following slides. So let's dive in. Strikingly, but probably not surprisingly, 100% of the included literature reviewed highlights about privacy and security as a major risk. AI-powered wearables and assistive tools rely on continuous data collection, capturing pretty intimate details like audio, video, real-time location, and biometric information. And because these systems require massive amounts of data to function and personalize the user experience, they create a really high risk for unauthorized access, identity theft, and exploitation. And because the data are not often categorized as medical or clinical data, they are not under the same protections like the Federal Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, or HIPAA. There also are some deep ethical concerns regarding bystander consent and how third-party commercial companies might use sensitive educational or medical data for profit without explicit permissions. The second most prominent risk, cited in 71% of the literature, was bias and discrimination. AI systems learn from historical data, which often lacks representation of disabled people or contains ableist assumptions, or both. In the modeling world, AI naturally produces a normative vision, effectively deciding what constitutes a normal body, speech patterns, or behaviors. And when disabled people fall outside of this statistical norm, they are excluded or penalized with bad functionality. So for example, autonomous vehicles trained primarily on able-bodied pedestrians have famously failed to recognize people who are propelling backwards in wheelchairs, which repeatedly misclassifies them and prioritizes the average behavior of the majority. That's dangerous. Furthermore, people are increasingly being subjected to reverse Turing tests, where they are forced to adjust their behaviors or language to prove their humanity to a machine that cannot read their atypical traits. Next, at 47% coverage, researchers warn about the accuracy and reliability of these systems. In high-stakes scenarios, such as medical diagnostics or real-time navigation for the visually impaired, errors can be physically and psychologically harmful. Large language models are prone to hallucinations, generating confident but entirely fictitious information. Additionally, technologies like speech recognition often perform poorly across diverse accents or atypical speech patterns, which leads to severe communication barriers and misunderstandings. Next, 24% of papers point to a lack of transparency and accountability. Due to the complex black box nature of deep learning algorithms, it is incredibly difficult to understand exactly how specific inputs translate into outputs. This lack of explainability obscures the decision-making process, raising massive trust and accountability issues, especially when these tools are used to make sensitive clinical, educational, or employment screening assessments. When an AI system makes a harmful or discriminatory determination, disabled users have little to no ability to push back or correct the system because the points where the decisions were made can't be pinpointed. And finally, we reach the foundational risks of over-reliance and infrastructure limitations, each appearing 18% in the literature. While AI wearables can dramatically improve autonomy and independence, relying on them can create a single point of failure. If a device malfunctions or loses connectivity or runs out of battery, a user can find themselves suddenly stranded and very vulnerable. There's also the emerging risk of compulsive engagement or generative AI addiction syndrome, which may diminish a user's critical thinking, self-efficacy, and social skills over time and continuous use. Furthermore, all of this technology requires a massive infrastructure. Many advanced AI devices cost thousands of dollars, placing them far out of reach for people in low resource settings. Even if a user can afford the device, AI systems often require high-speed internet and cloud-based processing to function, meaning that those in rural and under-resourced areas are systematically excluded from the benefits of AI-AT. So in conclusion, while AI has the power to redefine access and inclusion, the scoping review shows that we can't view it as a simple technological fix. If we don't actively address data privacy concerns, algorithmic biases, stability and performance, and the digital divide, we are at risk of using these tools to automate and amplify the very exclusion that we're trying to solve for. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you will subscribe to catch me in video 3, where we will talk about what I found in the scoping review about issues of equity. See you then.